Hello Power Rangers Lightning Collection fans, and welcome back to Lightning Storm. This is the series where lightning always strikes twice as we talk about everything that has happened in the past week for the Power Rangers Lightning Collection. Pretty light week here today. We don't have a ton to talk about, but we have a couple little snippets of news, so let's go ahead and get right on into it. So first up, I'm going to go ahead and start off with the TMNT and the fact that we might finally start to see them arriving in people's hands relatively soon. So finally, we have seen the first of the 3 TMNT packs to pop up on a bill of lading, specifically for Hasbro Canada. So these do seem to be arriving in Canadian ports, at least around this time frame here, at least one of them. So far, the only one I've seen on a bill of lading is the first one, the Lodestar Citoyle set, which if you don't know what that codename was, that was the codename for the Leonardo and Donatello 2-pack, which makes sense because that is Pack A, so I don't know if they're shipping them in that certain order, but it does line up that that would be the first one that we would start seeing arrive somewhere. So that one has arrived in Canadian ports, so I would not be surprised if we start seeing it pop up at like GameStops in Canada or something relatively soon. And hopefully that would mean that it would be out in the US, probably at GameStop, sooner rather than later as well. We still have those all slated for a like late November, early December release on GameStop, and I'm thinking that that might start to be possibly more accurate than like the April release dates and stuff we have on Pulse and stuff. I never thought those would be accurate, but we'll have to just wait and see. These are my most anticipated Lightning Collection figures to come out here. Ever since they've been leaked and announced, I've been super hyped for these, so I can't wait to see people start to get them, and hopefully we get them rather soon than later. Next up, we have some news about Andros once again. It's been a pretty good amount of time since we've had to talk about this guy here, but it looks like he's actually showing up in Target stores. So it was always the question of, was this a Target exclusive online only figure, or if it was going to actually pop up in stores? Throughout the month of October, it kept going in and out of stock on the Target website. People were able to get it, people weren't able to get it. It was all kind of a mess. But we've started to see more and more reports this past week of people actually finding the Andros figure on shelves in physical Target stores, which at first I thought was just a bunch of people having found people who had returned them. That happens sometimes. Target gets returns and they just put it back on the shelf, which is why it wasn't lining up to the Andros, like what his price tag would be. But I think one pretty definitive piece of evidence of it actually showing up in a store is the fact that someone actually found an entire case of 8 of them on the shelf. If you didn't know, Andros comes 8 to a case. So I find it very hard to believe that all of those would be returns. That would be kind of crazy if one store had 8 returned Androses for some reason. So that does make me think that they are actually going to be showing up in Target stores, which makes sense. I mean, I'm not surprised about that. It was kind of interesting that it took basically a month for that to happen, but nonetheless, you might want to look at your Targets, or I think you can go to the Target website, put in your zip code, and bring up your area of local stores, and I think it will tell you whether or not Andros is there or not. But it also has still been popping up back relatively frequently on the Target website in stock, so you might still have a chance to get it if you did not get it before. Speaking of figures you probably didn't have the chance to get before, we have In Space Silver to talk about once again. Sadly, no updates in terms of like how you would actually be able to get it, but at least a tiny bit of hope. And that is the Walgreens website updated this past week, not for Power Rangers, but for Marvel. So there was a Marvel exclusive Marvel Legends Nova figure for Walgreens that had been, I've heard of such distribution problems with him, very similar In Space Silver situation in terms, well, at least that one got announced. Not In Space Silver, but this Nova figure, people were having a lot of problems finding it and such, and it just randomly went up on the Walgreens website earlier this week. You could actually order it and such, which I think gives at least a little bit of hope that Zhane will end up being there as well. So far, the only figure for Power Rangers still on the Walgreens website is last year's exclusive Dino Thunder White. So, of course, I've been checking this constantly whenever I see it actually go up. If it ever goes up, I'll be sure to let you all know, but just keep tabs on the Walgreens website. It could pop up literally any day, or it could never pop up. But if you missed your chance on getting it, I'm sure you're going to want to take a look at that site to hope that he does. The retail version of Pudgy Pig seems to be coming out a little bit earlier than we seemed to think from Amazon. So if you were able to order him from Amazon a couple of weeks ago, another kind of situation where he's been going in and out of stock. It's kind of hard to figure out when he would actually be up or not. You just have to keep your eyes peeled. But right now, at least on my order, and I think a couple of people's orders, he got bumped up to November 29th. So not this upcoming Monday, but the Monday after Thanksgiving, which is when it currently is slated for it to come out for me here. So we'll see if that actually ends up panning out. Of course, I'll do a video on him whenever he does arrive. I bought this version and the PulseCon one. So yeah, there's that. And I'll leave a link in the description below to Pudgy Pig as well if you did not get a chance to order it off of Amazon, but you can still get it on Big Bad Toy Store, Entertainment Earth, Dorkside Toys, and such like that. And speaking of Dorkside Toys, for just a moment here, I had seen someone claim on Facebook that they got a shipping notice for iGuy from Dorkside Toys, but I've yet to see any proof of that happening necessarily, except for just this one post on Facebook. Doesn't mean it's not true, I just haven't seen anything myself. I went ahead and placed an order for iGuy on Dorkside Toys to see what happens, so we could finally be getting that as our next figure released, which would not surprise me since it got announced back in July alongside Wave 10, and that's all out, so I could definitely see that being the case. Moving over to GameStop, they're playing their classic shenanigans once again in terms of charging for figures, pushing dates and stuff like that. They charged for the other day for the Cat 2-pack, their exclusive 2-pack that we have seen been out in Singapore for at least a month or so. But that one finally got charged. Who knows if it's actually going to happen. They have today listed as the release date for it on the GameStop website. I think it could happen. We have another very interesting thing, kind of like the iGuy at Dorkside Toys thing I just talked about, where someone on Facebook, and this one actually had a picture associated with it, could actually be trickling out to GameStops finally, but I've yet to see that happen on like a wide scale, and mine hasn't shipped yet or anything like that, so we'll see. I think that this has a decent chance of actually finally being out now. It was on a bill of lading a while ago, so there's no reason why it wouldn't be here yet, but of course shipping delays and everything is still a mess right now, so it could be delayed, it could be out then, who knows. But speaking of dates that are definitely not going to be correct, for whatever reason, yesterday GameStop put 3/4 of Wave 11 up for a November 19th release yesterday, except for the Zeo Cog. That stayed at the September 1st, 2022 date for whatever reason. That was random. I still don't think they're going to be out in September. I've seen evidence that suggests that the actual release date of Wave 11 is supposed to be February 1st, 2022, which makes a lot more sense. We'll see if it actually makes that one or not. But sure, I guess maybe. I mean, granted, GameStop was the first place in the world to get Wave 10 back in September, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but I was definitely not expecting Wave 11 to be out until at least 2022. Definitely earlier than September though, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Hasbro Pulse is back in the news today for a figure they actually got in stock finally, and of course more delays. So for the one that they actually got in stock was A Squad Yellow. So this seems to be kind of the more abundant of the A Squad members of the other 4 that we were getting in 2021, because Big Bad Toy Store had it, and Dorkside Toys had it, and now Pulse has it. And not only do they charge and ship pre-orders, you can actually just add it to your cart and buy it right now if you've never pre-ordered it before or anything like that. No word on when red and green and pink and stuff are going to release from Pulse, but at least that one's out. But of course, Pulse is back with delays once again. Not only did they delay the Cat 2-pack, they, for whatever reason, they delayed that till I think it was like December 20th or 21st or something. So if GameStop actually does ship it out, it's going to make that one look bad. And then they pushed Versus Packs Wave 2 until December 20th, which is laughable because both of them are in stock right now on Amazon. So if you don't want to wait another month and you have the money to spend on them now, cancel that pre-order on Pulse, go to Amazon, and you can get them literally by the end of the weekend or very early next week. They're still in stock. I'll leave a link to those down below for both of them, the Scorpina Yellow Ranger 2-pack and the Psycho Silver in Space Blue. So if you're, like I said, if you don't want to wait another month on Pulse for whatever reason, which why would you can do that. But it does seem like our next Pulse release hopefully could be the Metallic Rangers on December 1st. That's the current US release date of them. But we did talk about last weekend that they were released from Robo in Singapore, and now we have some better photos of them here, so let's talk about that. And finally for this week, we have a group shot of all 5 of the metallic armors released for the Lightning Collection so far, thanks to a Ranger Board user. Of course, You might not be surprised to hear about this, but since we had a year difference between us getting the Pink Ranger and the other 4, of course there's going to be inconsistencies. It wouldn't be the Lightning Collection if there weren't. So the shading of the metallic kind of plastic on the cuffs and boots and stuff is different on Pink than it is on the other 4. It's very slightly different. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but of course that probably will bother some people. I'm not surprised. There's no way that Lightning Collection, unless they released one whole team at once, there's no way Lightning Collection will ever be consistent between team members. Hasbro just refuses to do it. So we've seen it with every single team, except for like the Psychos, which was released in a box set, so like that's an exception. But yeah, there is that. But at least they do look really good together. I'm happy that we have all 5 of these. I really want to get a metallic white hopefully soon to complete the whole team. I think it's great that we got all 5 of them with their Zeo crystals, so you can do a pose like that for either matching them up with the proper user or matching them up with the color. That's up to you, because Billy comes with one in the figures. If you know he doesn't have his own associated Zeo crystal. If you've seen Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, you obviously know that. So yeah, they look great together here, and I'm looking forward to getting them at the beginning of December, hopefully, if that doesn't get pushed again. And that Red Ranger helmet, perfect. Looks so good. I just wish that we were able to get that in a non-metallic version for our regular release. And I'm sure Hasbro will figure out a way to release that figure yet again with the proper helmets. But hey, I think they nailed it this time, so kudos to them. Alright, and that is going to do it for this week's episode of Lightning Storm. Of course, as always, thank you all for watching. Be sure to comment down below whatever you thought about this week. Have you had any luck on tracking down all these figures that are out all over the place? Is this kind of starting to get a little overwhelming for you? Are you kind of happy we're in a lull of like new figures? We haven't had anything announced since PulseCon, which I'm not surprised about. Well, in some ways. In Space Silver and Pudgy Pig should have been announced, and it's still ridiculous that they aren't, but that's not here nor there. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about all of this stuff in the comments below. And of course, until next time, you can follow me on Twitter at LivinRangerKey or at LightningFigPR. And I'll see you all in Lightning Storm. This is your lightning always strikes twice.